So what's your handicap? My handicap, I haven't really been tracking it lately, but it's probably in the 4 or 5 range.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Okay.
At one point, I was a lefty, headed down to about 2, but I switched.
You switched from lefty to righty. How come?
10, 12 years ago, because I lost my game.
So you got down to a 2 as a lefty, and then lost it and said, hey, the best thing to do is switch to go righty?
After about 6, 8 years of frustration and trying to find it, finally was out on the range with some friends one time, and one of the guys wanted to borrow a left-handed club just to try it, so I tried his right-handed club, hit 2 beautiful little drawing 8 irons to the 150-yard marker, and said, maybe I should switch.
That is a new one.
It was kind of just to, be able to get the love of the game back without the expectations. Right?
I've had guys
I'd gotten to an expectation level and couldn't reach it anymore. So
yeah.
Frustrating.
Well, that's quite the challenge. So you're a great golfer either side of the ball. That's
I've broken par both ways. In fact, I've broken 70 as a righty. Never did that as a lefty.
No kidding. All right. So with being a righty now, what's the biggest struggles that you've got?
Inconsistency, like everyone, and I feel like I don't get as much distance as I should.
Okay.
I'm kind of stuck. Like you talk a lot of guys on your road show, driver swing speed 100 miles an hour, 95 to 100. I'm kind of stuck in that range. Right?
Oh, okay.
Never much more than that. So
yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look. Let's get you hitting a couple. Put them on camera and see what we got going on.
Should I grab a 7 iron or 8?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want to start with doesn't matter to me.
Where should I line up?
Right there's perfect.
Okay.
Alright, I see what's going on there. Definitely fix this. All right, let's take a look. So, the main one I want to look at is going to be face on. So, setup not too bad there, a little bit off with your axis tilt. You're actually creating a little bit of side bend here. Okay. When you create axis tilt, all you want to do is keep everything nice and neutral and then just slide your hips to the left. You're actually tilting your head and bending your spine a little bit, but it's where that starts to become a big deal is if you're not finishing your turn because you're compressing these vertebrae, they don't have enough room to rotate. So but the big thing is what I saw at the top.
Start sliding over the target.
Too bad here. Not bad, but look at the club. Immediately, you go to the top, you don't let the wrist set, and you start actually pushing the club out. Yeah, and that's where all your distance is.
Yeah.
So now as you come down, because you're casting right away, and the lower body's not really doing much, you've got nothing left to hit there. It's just kind of a little scoop there. Yeah. Scoop and push. So that's going to be the big thing. And then just take a quick look down the line. Going way inside, deep and flat. So it's partly, as you went to the top, you kind of had this look where you're like starting to lift a little bit. Yeah. It's coming from the takeaway. If you got the club going way back in here, and your brain's like, well, this doesn't feel right, so then you start to elevate it, and then you start to push against it with your wrists, and then all of a sudden, we're in trouble. Right there, the club starts to get thrown a little. The body's pretty quiet. Club face is coming in way open, a little bit under. Yeah. But yeah, could be a little bit, but it doesn't really change the plane of path of what we're seeing here. So, a couple big things. First one, takeaway stuff. As that puppy's going inside, that would be one thing that we want to change. But That's not going to necessarily fix a distance. It's going to fix a little bit of where you get a little bit of elevation at the top or a little bit late in the swing. But the big thing is what you're doing with your hands and wrists. You're holding on to that club super tight. The club doesn't get to set. And when it doesn't set, there's nowhere for it to go on the way down but out. So that's the big thing I want to tackle.
Okay.
So let's do that first. So go ahead and set up for me. I'm going to make a couple little adjustments as we go back with the takeaways. No ball yet. No ball. So that would actually be neutral. So you kind of want to get like this a little bit. So right there would be neutral with your head. Now go ahead and start going back all the way to the top. So what I want you to, wow, way too soon. There we go. You can't feel anything. Now you can feel this club head moving around a little bit. That's what your wrists have to be like at the top. They don't have to be like stupidly sloppy, but they can't be where I can't move them. That's death. There's nowhere for that club head to go but out.
Okay.
So go to the top again, and I want you to get a feeling for feeling the weight of that club head moving around. It should almost feel heavy to you right now at the top. There you go. There you go. Obviously that's going to feel like a big difference. Now, leave this alone and you work on shifting back to the left. That's it. That's all we need. If we can put those two things alone together, that's 5, 6, 7 miles an hour club head speed, because the wrist can now be maintaining that angle a little bit longer, and that's obviously critical for that shift, but you got to let it set at the top. So we put those two together and we get down halfway, we're here instead of here, and then it's a different ball game. Yeah. So let's go to the top again. I want you to feel soft. I want you to just practice feeling the weight of the club. Don't worry about where the club's going right now. Soft left leg. More shift to the left. Yeah, good. There you go. Again. Good, soft with the wrist, big shift, good. There you go. That looks great. Really, really good. Take one of those on video. Keep doing it. Again. If you did that, this lesson would be done.
All right.
Because that's absolutely spot on what we need. Setting more earlier was kind of like up there.
Yeah.
But the big thing is now that you're it's more lag than you know what to do with. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So all you got to do now is commit to your brain that this is what I'm going to do. So at first we want to go really, really slow to get the feeling of it, but it's going to be kind of chunky at first. You have to go to the top, kind of stop, check it, like, okay, yeah, my hands are still pretty relaxed. And then your next thought's going to be like, okay, forget about the hands for a second. Go back to the left. Perfect. Good. Again. Good.
Do you want me to swing through, or
I want you to do exactly that. Yep. Okay. Let it rip on the way down. If you're shifting your weight well, okay, you start to cast it at the top there a little bit. Okay. Yeah. So back it down only 15%. There you go. Did you feel the difference between those last two? What did you feel different?
I mean, the first was more like my old swing.
Exactly.
Where I want to throw the club at it. And
exactly. So you need to detect the two.
Yeah.
If it feels good, it feels normal, it's going to be your old way. Right. This needs to feel like, oh, I got to make myself soften up a little at the top. There you go. Yep. Perfect. Again. Yeah, you may find that you need to pause at the top each time at first for a little bit to get the feeling of that being softer, shifting. Yeah. And then release. Good. Perfect. The club coming down is the perfect amount of lag, so we just got to get used to that feeling.
Yeah.
Good. Good. careful when you go to the top. So that time as you picked up a little bit of pace, I was nervous, but you paused, so I didn't have to worry about it. But had you not paused, you would have cast. Because you went here, and then your arms go quick to go up. And that's going to add tension to your shoulders, which is going to add tension to your wrists. Just go a little bit slower and mellower, all the way to the top. There you go. That's it. Now that tension level that you just felt right there in your shoulders and arms is what you need to feel in your real swing.
Okay.
That tension needs to be more over here. Go to the top again. Keep your arms and shoulders nice and relaxed. And feel this working to bring those arms down. So it's almost like your arms are just kind of being swung to the top by your body. They're being soft. And then your body's doing all the work coming down to start the transition. There you go. Perfect. Soft with the shoulders. I want you to go to the top and feel that they're relaxed. All of this is chilled out. Good. Bad. You got to make sure that first move has got to be a pronounced shift back to the left. Sit into that left side aggressively. Good. And then from there, you just post up and release the club. Show me one without a pause at the top. You can go slow during the transition, but without a pause. Okay, casted it. So go back to the pause. I'm gonna move the camera around to the... Soft with the shoulders. There you go. Good. Go to the top again and stop. Keep that nice and relaxed. Nice and relaxed, good, shift. There you go, good. Good. Okay, smaller pause this time.
Okay.
Not bad. I want you to exaggerate your wrists at the top being soft. To the top, start pushing out.
Did it?
Yeah. So go to the top. I'm going to show you what I want it to feel like. As you start down, just a little bit of droop. I mean, this is going to be an exaggeration, right? In the real world, it's going to drop. It doesn't need to drop very much.
Right.
But right now, we want to just go crazy with it. Let's have some fun with it and let it really drop. Okay. So you're going to feel like that shaft almost hit you in the shoulder. And then once we get to the point where you feel like, okay, now I really got a feel for what my wrists are really soft. Then we can back it down a little. Yeah, exactly. It's going to feel very different.
Yeah.
Good. I hope you're not going to hit me here. Alright, so you can see that exaggeration this time? So show me what that felt like to you. Just demonstrate what it felt like.
Okay, that felt like I did this.
Okay, perfect. That's what we need to know, right? So now let's see what actually happened. Nothing.
Wow.
So we're good there. But this is you feeling like it's going crazy soft. And that's why it's so critical that at first for a lot of people they really need to exaggerate the heck out of it and then look at it immediately on video and be like, that's not me, right? And then you'd be like, okay, I can really exaggerate. So, and that's how you're going to get to the point where you have that softness in your wrist, so they can have some snap at the bottom again. Is to really, really overdo it. So keep trying to practice the feeling of being really, really soft at the top. And where that drop happens is really during the transition. So your hands are just kind of soft at the top, but then as you start shifting back to the left, that's when the club should drop.
Right.
Nope, cast it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I felt like I dropped it.
No. That was just kind of neutral.
Crazy.
There, that's it. Now, what did that feel like?
Yeah, that felt like I dropped it.
You dropped it about that much, which is about normal.
Yeah.
But that's what it needs to feel like for you in order to get just a proper amount of shaft drop at the top. Not bad. Not bad. Try it with this for a second.
Okay.
It's a lot easier to feel this when you have a really, really soft shaft. See, that kind of forces you to weight at the top. That's a great feeling because then it takes the tension out of your shoulders. Because you can feel having tension in your shoulders doesn't do any good with that thing. It doesn't make any sense. So then you get to focus more on the body.
That one I didn't do it as much.
Yeah, good, you felt it. Good. Now don't turn your shoulders coming through. Like when you started down, you started looking straight out like this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your transition was better. There you go. Go to the top again one more time. Okay, so now this is all good. We got the shaft soft here. The key for you starting as you come down, you really want to start turning your shoulders. And when you turn your shoulders to bring the club down, your hands are always going to get tight because you're putting a lot of stress on the shaft. You're trying to move it with your shoulders. So the trick for you is you feel like your chest is going to stay pointed back there.
Yeah.
And then you're going to swing with that thing way out over there. When you get that feeling, it'll keep you from turning your chest so much because you're going to actually be looking back there. You definitely never want to look out here.
Right. And that's actually kind of what I've been working on, is trying to feel like I'm closing my shoulders lately.
Okay.
I feel like I'm really...
Keep your shoulders closed, but then what you just showed me was a closed hip slide.
Okay.
So your hips have to turn, but your shoulders don't. So let's put those two together. Good. There you go. Yep. Keep your chest and everything looking back that way. And then as you release, you're going to feel that you're releasing way out over there. Now you won't be.
Right.
But when you're practicing this, that's exactly what you need to be drilling. So hips. There you go. Big difference there. And let it release from there. It's good. Shut. There you go. One more time. I'm gonna get one of those. Oh, even more shut. Way more shut. Feel like your chest is back here the whole time. Okay. Let's take a quick look. Perfect. Plenty of lag. Tons of it. Club could actually have a chance to square up and release. That looks great.
Yeah.
Versus earlier, like right there, your head was already looking out over here when you were drilling. That's perfect. That's all we need. But you've got to feel these funky, super soft, super shut, hip movement coming down, arms and shoulders relaxed, all that stuff. You have to really exaggerate that in order to get it to look any different. The problem is, you can make a change in your swing that literally moves the club 1 millimeter.
That to you it feels like 3 feet.
Literally, right? Yeah. That's why feel is so useless when you're working on your swing. That's why you have to use a camera. So these changes, when we can compare them, the club makes that much different. But for you to create that big of a change, it feels like you had to change 16 feet. Everything feels so different. You've got to really keep exaggerating that. The two biggest things are going to be soft at the top, and then just keeping your chest feeling like it's pointing back here the whole time as you come down. Let's try it with the club now.
Okay. Same thing?
Exact same thing. Yep, nothing's going to change from this point forward. A little rigid at the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Club has no drop in it. Better. Even softer at the top. When you go to the top, you're still holding the club tight, so go to the top again. There we go. This is rigid, super rigid. So when you go to the top, after we took that away, because you don't feel that big droop because of the weight on the head and the shaft, now all of a sudden you're holding it here again, and then you're having to try and make yourself drop it. The drop has to happen naturally as a result of not having too much tension in here. Now, when you're holding it like this and you go to the top and stop it should never ever stay like that. The club should be feeling like gravity's wanting to pull it down.
I think I made that happen years ago because I felt like I was overswinging too much.
And then you're like, stop that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely don't have that problem, right? We got the opposite. So you just got to keep it softer than you think. And again, this is the time to exaggerate the heck out of that kind of stuff. There you go. Yep. That would obviously be way too much lag, but that's what you need to feel right now. Keep your chest and head back there when you start down. A little tight at the top. A little tight. Here's another good way to feel it with an actual club. So take both of those, do the same drill.
So swing them both?
Yep. It's going to feel a little unwieldy. That's the idea. So don't hold on to it tight. Swing it. Better. Now you can really feel the weight on the end of the club head.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you actually have, that's the proper amount of drop. And it probably still feels pretty exaggerated.
Yeah. It does.
That's perfect.
Wow.
I know, right? Keep your head, you're still turning.
Yeah, I felt at that time that I didn't.
All right, so that feel pretty exaggerated there? All right.
Now a donut or whatever works.
Same thing, yep, exactly. Then you just don't have to feel
got
two grips. Exactly. See how it's even actually there, it's starting to still kind of walk out. The club head during the transition should look like it literally floats. It just stays in position.
Okay.
And it's starting to go back up. Ideally, the club's gonna go like this, and then it's gonna kind of float here for a second, and then trace a really shallow path back in.
Okay.
Instead of going like this and then back out like that. But that's your big exaggeration. Now, there's plenty of lag, right? This would just be a plane issue, but that's easy to fix. But the big thing is as you're coming down, now we have that leverage that's been missing in your swing. Obviously, you're not going to harp on that right heel at some point, but that is a huge...
And that's one thing I've been working on, that it doesn't happen when I'm swinging normally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, transition-wise, we're really close there. So, a couple simple... I mean, the fact that you have that, no-brainer. I'd use use that every single day, exaggerate it, get the feeling of like loading the snot out of that shaft. And what I mean, when you're doing this with this, it's really easy to like literally hit yourself in the back and get your hands in here and then have all that wrist angle. So really try and exaggerate that. And as I go to the top, you'll see what you're doing is a little bit of this. Yeah. And what you should feel as you go back, it almost feels like it goes this way and back behind you. Exaggeration, but that's what's going to happen when your arms and shoulder, that's why I grabbed your shoulder earlier. If they're soft and you start back down, your hands will actually just drop this way. And that's where you're going to release the club to the inside. Yeah, probably knocked it off there. But so using that, using 2 clubs, putting a donut on there. They used to make those little headstocks you put on there. Yeah, anything like
I think I have several of those lying
probably
around
all of them. Right? We've all had them at one point. Yeah. The whole trick is just weight. Yeah. If you can feel the weight of the club head swinging, then you start to have a golf swing. Right. But the problem is the clubs, they're relatively light, and so and they're stiff. So because you don't have to swing them anymore. I like to think of it like that. I mean, that's exaggerated, but like imagine you were swinging just a rope with the club head on the end of it. And that's how you get the feeling of getting the speed at the bottom by swinging the club into the ball instead of trying to just push it and hit with it. So when you take that off, like I would tell you like each day to make 20 swings with both clubs like that, and then drop one and try to recreate that exact same feeling with just the one. You'll have to be really soft to do it. Let's try a couple more with both, and then we'll do a couple with one. Nice and soft, just let it swing back and forth. Not bad. Even softer at the top, really exaggerate it. Not bad. Go to the top one more time and stop. So what actually gonna feel like the club head goes this way. And it actually does. Yours is going back, tracing the same path. In a 3D world, you would actually see that the club head actually goes this way. And that's why when you're viewing it from face on, it looks like the club head floats. Because it's not going back this way. That's the last thing you want it to do. So it actually goes this way a little bit, and that's what allows the club to be slung from the inside and released with speed. Okay. Again, go to the top and stop. Yeah, there you go. As you do that while you're shifting back to the left. Go ahead and shift back to the left. There you go. Now we've got a ton of power and energy here to be released. But there's no effort in that, right? You're just kind of letting this stuff get loaded up and then you just sling it in here. Whereas you're trying to go to the top push and then use your whole chest to turn through as well. Yeah. Not bad. Even exaggerate it more. Try to get the club to go back towards the tree as you let your right arm drop back down to the side as an exaggeration. There you go. Nice. Let's take one look at that one. Way better. Now to you, that feels like you're looping it around. I feel like you're Pyrrhic right now. But you can see that from face on, it doesn't look like that at all. And the club looks like it almost kind of just hangs there for a second. Instead of before, it immediately went right back up and out, right? And that's, you don't want any more lag than that for sure. Better for sure. But that's all we can do. You get that feeling of your arms being more relaxed, your shoulders being more relaxed, and then as you're going to the top, it's really key. I can see it's more in your left hand than your right, that you're holding onto it tight, and it happens during the takeaway. And I can see your right hand is really limp on the club. I've
been trying to get that. Trying to get the right side out and everything.
It's doing great.
So now it's.
But now I can see when you go to grab the club, your wrist, like your grip, tightens up right away at first, and that may be because you feel like you don't have any right hand help, and so like, I gotta really try and grab with my left. Try to blend the two out, balance the two out right now, so that you've got a little bit of help with that left hand, so you don't feel like this has to like tighten up and hold on to it really Right. But otherwise, this rest of the stuff looks awesome. So now it's just a matter of getting that same feeling with one club, and then getting the same feeling with a ball. And just go baby shots. Impact bag is a good way to start.
I've got an impact bag.
I use an impact bag a lot because it gets you. You're not worried about making contact with something so small and hard.
Right.
You know, you're gonna get comfortable letting the club drop. You're not worried about accuracy or contact. And then you'll get comfortable letting the club like really sling into the bag, and then you'll get comfortable swinging the club, right? So that would be my progressive step for you. But you're doing great with this. You should be able to move up to balls pretty fast. But definitely drill the snot out of this and exaggerate using that thing, the 2 clubs or the head, flip it on the head, and then that's it, man. And then I would tackle the takeaway stuff is kind of the next thing, because that's going to make this stuff a lot easier when the club's not kind of going way inside. And you got to feel like you got to pick it up. And then the last thing I would do.
It was worse yesterday. Trust me. I came out. I was working because I have a tendency to get going with my hands out here. And so yesterday I came out and I was really working on just getting, because I'd been working on that a month or so ago, but like anything, you kind of work on something, you get it working, and then you move on to something else, and all of a sudden the old habit, and so that's exactly what had happened. I noticed on the video that I was back to this again. So
gotcha.
I was working really hard on keeping, but it's probably still a little deep.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm used to doing this with the hands, otherwise, you know.
Yeah, to fix your takeaway, all you really got to do is nothing with your hands.
Yeah,
you know? Just turning.
Just turn, yeah.
Yeah, so otherwise it looks great, man. Any questions for me?
What do you think of those speed slicks? Have you ever seen those? A lot of people around here talk about them, seem to.
I mean, it's just a way to measure speed, right? But they're not very accurate.
No. They're those ones that are 3-weighted clubs or whatever.
Oh, I don't know that
you
need anything like that.
Yeah, this thing probably does the same.
It does exactly the same, or you don't even need that, right? You got 2 clubs. That's just nice because of this droopy shaft, and it's really easy to feel shaft load, which at the end of the day, when you start becoming, getting back to where you should be at the level of golfer you should be playing at, feeling shaft stress is going to be one of the biggest feedback mechanisms that you have. Mm-hmm. Right now, your hands are too tight. You don't feel any stress. One, you're not stressing the shaft very well because you're going to the top tight, and then instead of using your legs to transition and stress the shaft, you're trying to use your hands. They're not strong enough to really put a lot of load on the shaft. But with that, anybody can put a lot. So that's good. But eventually, you should feel the same amount of, not the same, but you should feel some shaft load in your irons, just like you do with anything. That's why so many people playing like really stiff steel shafts, they never get that feeling because they just hold on to it, they push it tight, they push against it with their thumbs, and they never get the feeling of that shaft bending, which is an awesome feeling because there's energy there that you can take advantage of without having to put any work into it. So I don't think you need any training aids. You just need the stuff you got, and you just need to drill this stuff. And you saw right away, like your swing from there, as far as having the potential leverage and energy, it's there already. Like it's 10 minutes to get you there. So it's just a matter of repetition now.
Getting that to be my swing instead.
That's it. Just all practice. Repetition. All right.
So one other thing I was going to ask you, but now it's probably maybe a moot point. I know you talk a lot of times about doing the reps without playing golf, and of course that's difficult to do. So I was even considering at one point tinkering with doing the reps left-handed, playing right-handed, and then eventually
and then switching. That would be really tricky, I think. Because you're literally working opposite hemispheres of your brain. So
I do remember when I switched, it was the weirdest thing. That the first day I went out and hit a lot of balls right-handed, it was a really weird feeling. Like the world was backwards.
Right, your signature left-handed.
So my brain was was somehow twisted up by it for a little while.
You're just going to be taking twice as long to do it. Okay. I would stick with this one deal. You got a good swing right hand. It's like literally like a couple other little things that we talked about that I would tweak, and that's it. And then you can go out and be back to scratch golf.
So basically, that's the big one. Just getting that tension out of this.
Tension is a killer, and then transitioning with your lower body, keeping your chest and shoulders back, and then starting to let that club release. And then you're going to have way more speed again. And then I would worry about dialing, the takeaway in, dialing the downswing in, keeping that you're pushing off the right leg a bit. Those little things like that would be like the next step, but this is going to be a huge impact just doing what we did here.
Okay.